Reboot, or with the mouse side.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
starting in a couple minutes.
All right. Thank you.
We're experiencing some minor computer problems, so that's our little delay here. I believe Vice Mayor has maybe a joke while we're waiting. Good dad joke?
A dad joke?
Yeah.
Famous actually that just made the movies.
Is your mic on?
So
Nope.
something just
Sorry,
made the
we're
movies.
good.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Sorry, Vice Mayor. Want to welcome each and every one of you to our study session tonight. There's a number of things that are going on. First will be scheduled public appearances, and then we will review and ask questions related to our consent agenda, which we will be voting on Thursday, so we're not voting on anything today. It's public appearances, and then having a chance to interact with staff to review our agenda coming up. So with that, I want to welcome you to our study session of February 10th, 2020. And we will start with our scheduled public appearances, and I would like to invite Councilmember Stewart to join me out front. And at the conclusion of our meeting, we will allow Vice Mayor to tell his bad dad joke. First on our agenda is Proclamation Black History Month. And I would like to invite Victor Hardy to join me up here. And we have a proclamation. Whereas the Chandler Men of Action and the City of Chandler celebrate its 8th annual African American banquet, and whereas the community has come together to support and celebrate Chandler's rich history and proud African American heritage through words, song, and the arts, and whereas the Chandler Men of Action, along with the City of Chandler, believe that truth cannot be denied and that reason will prevail over prejudice, and whereas we want to celebrate the ideals and creativity of those whom came before to enrich us into the future. And whereas Carter G. Woodson once observed that if a race has no history, it is no worthwhile tradition. It becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated. And whereas we invite the entire community to take part in the 8th annual African American banquet on February 21st, 2020, now I, therefore, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, Arizona, hereby proclaim February 2020 as Black History Month. Why don't would you like to say a couple words and then we'll take a picture?
Yeah, 2 words. Thank you. We also want to add in with that South Chandler Self-Help, whom had their annual event on February 7th. But the realization is that everybody has a history. And we want to celebrate that history with everyone, not with just some, not to leave people out. But we have such a rich history in this country, and especially in this city. And I do want to mention former Mayor Corey Payne, who passed away, the first African-American mayor in the state of Arizona. We are proud of who we are, just as everyone else is, and we need to celebrate our differences and come together as one. Thank you.
And I do want to thank Vice Mayor for standing in for me at the Black History Month celebration as I was ill and unable to go anywhere that particular time. Our next recognition is Move It Maricopa Challenge. I'd like to invite Ray Lind, Human Resources Director, and her team. So Chandler was recently honored with first place in a walking challenge sponsored in part by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona. The challenge ran for 6 weeks in October through November 2019. We competed against 7 other cities and 3 school districts. And the challenge highlighted the efforts of the workforce to increase their physical activity and improve well-being through a fun and interactive steps challenge. Raylyn.
Thank you, Mayor Harkey. We just would like to say thank you to the mayor and council and city manager's office for all of the support of the wellness initiatives. This was a fun initiative and a fancy trophy that we're happy to thank you to the city employees who did all of your steps out there as well.
All right. Let's stay healthy and take a picture. We will work harder to make sure that we have better council representation next year as well. Our next recognition is the Chandler Raiders, an NFL flag championship winners. I'd like to call up Coach Percy Knox and the Chandler Raiders. Come on up, Raiders. Competed against the best teams in the nation, and we couldn't be more proud. We'd like to invite you all up, and we're excited. Go Chandler. So, Coach Knox, would you like to say a couple? Why don't we scoot over in the middle here? Why don't you say a couple words? All right. All right.
So we were really proud to represent the city of Chandler. We've been a team for 3 years. And what happened was we went up against 147 teams across the country in 8 different regionals. So we won the Las Vegas regional, and that allowed us to then compete against the Elite 8. So they took the top 8 teams from each regional, and we played against each other at the actual NFL Pro Bowl during the festivities on Saturday. So we made it to the championship game. We beat the Red Zone Miami All-Stars, which was known as one of the top teams in the country. And by beating them, we became the #1 team in the country for 12U flag football.
A picture. Can we have each of the boys introduce yourselves?
I'm Chase Dixon. I'm the quarterback. I'm Trey Knox. I'm the cornerback.
Josh Blake, wide receiver.
Caleb Ely, wide receiver.
Jaden Meadows, the receiver.
Christian Walker, the receiver.
Hayden Moon, receiver.
Kamari Stanberry, rusher.
Fun. So I watched the game, and Kamari, how many sacks did you have? At least, yeah. And there was only maybe 15 or 20 total defensive plays. You were all over that quarterback every single play. I was like, oh my God, that kid's so fast. It was amazing. And you looked so smooth in the pocket. You just were like whipping the ball everywhere. And then Dash had literally a SportsCenter top 10 catch, almost virtually one-handed, fell on his back. Did you knock the wind out of yourself when that happened? No, you just hopped right up. You're like, hand the ball to the referee. It was fantastic. Good job, boys.
Are you closer?
Yeah. You can come closer.
All right, everyone look up here. Closer, babe. All right. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Oh, nope, just kidding. Kim Moyers was wondering. I'd like to invite Kim Moyers, our Cultural Developmental Director, up for the presentation of the winners from our 2019 Parade of Lights winners. These people persevered through the rain And it was a tremendous parade. Director.
Thank you. Mayor, council members, the Parade of Lights marked the second year of the extended parade route, which allowed for additional floats and expanded the area for residents to enjoy the long-standing tradition. The 61 floats that participated in the parade continue to impress us with their creativity, illumination, and community spirit. Tonight, I'd like to ask Hermelinda to present the 2019 parade winners, and also the opportunity to say thank you to both Hermelinda and Annette for all of their hard work on this community event. Hermelinda?
Good evening. It is my honor to present the 2019 Parade of Lights winners. The Parade of Lights is a longstanding tradition for the city of Chandler. Many families, organizations, schools, and businesses attend and participate each year. We are excited to present the winners this evening. Tonight we will recognize 8 winners from 4 different categories, along with 1 winner from our Judge's Choice. The Mayor's Youth Commission provided us with 3 volunteers to judge these entries. They truly had the hardest job that evening. We will have representatives from each winning group come forward when their name is announced and accept their award. So let's get the fun started here. Second place for Best Lit Musical or Dance Group is Dance Studio C. Unfortunately, they could not be here with us tonight, and we want to thank them for participating. And our first place in the Best Lit Musical or Dance Group goes to USA Dance Company. Accepting their award tonight is Tina Taylor-Schmidt and Kaylee Young. USA Dance Company has a long-standing entrant in the Parade of Lights and always bring their best. Moving on to our next category, Best Lit Community Group. Second place goes to Troop 7443. Ella Mejia and Katie Flingerger, presenting Troop 744. We appreciate the time it takes and their effort that they put into their Parade of Lights entry. First place for the Best Lit Community Group is Copper State Four Wheelers, and here to accept the award on their behalf is Jim Nossett. The club was formed in 1972 by a group of families to promote safe and enjoyable family-style four-wheeling. And lucky for us, they choose to light up their vehicles every year and join us. Moving on to our next category, Best Lit Business Group. Our second place winner in the Best Lit Business Group is Freedom Life Church. Unfortunately, they are unable to be here with us tonight, and we appreciate their participation in the Parade of Lights. Our first place in the Best Lit Business Group goes to Elite Paw Spa. Accepting their award tonight are owners Amy and Michelle Roman. We love seeing businesses take part in this iconic event and put all of their creativity on display. The next category is always a favorite amongst our parade watchers and our parade participants, biggest and brightest. Second place in biggest and brightest goes to the Elder family, and accepting tonight is Bailey and Braden Elder. They brought everyone's favorite superheroes to the parade, and everyone loves seeing them, even with the rain. All right. First place for biggest and brightest goes to Chandler Unified School Transportation, and accepting their award tonight is Sonia Jones and Tom Geringer. Whew, good. Unified School Transportation always puts so much work and effort into their floats that this year Lion King was a crowd pleaser. We look forward to seeing what their creative minds have in store for us next year. And our final award of the evening goes to our Judge's Choice and to the Elder family. Accepting their award is Morgan Elder. The Elder family has started a tradition taking part in the Parade of Lights each year, and we look forward to seeing what the next generation has in store. Once again, I just want to thank everybody for their participation, and we look forward to seeing everybody in 2020.
You guys are missing the best part. Study session. All right, council, a number of items were called in and for some presentation or further clarification. Item number 3, actually, I wanted a presentation on this as well as Councilmember Orlando. As you recall, council, last year we put together a transportation study. We have all received quite a while ago a condensed results of this, as well as last week the complete study. Jason.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So staff has been working with our consultant, Kimley Horn, over the past year to develop this plan that is before you this evening. There was a number of city staff members that were involved in the plan's development across multiple departments. Really, it was a team effort, but I wanted to point out a couple of individuals that were critical in developing this. First of all, Dan Cook, who recently retired, he really led the way as our transportation policy manager, and Kim Moon and our capital projects team served as the project manager. Throughout this presentation, I will move pretty quickly, but if any residents want to see the detailed master plan or read more about it, there is information on our website, chandleraz.gov/transportation. So the last time we updated the master plan was in 2010. Since then, the city's grown quite a bit. Transportation patterns have changed, so it was time for an update. But additionally, as you can see by our vision statement, there are emerging technologies, and we wanted to be sure that we leverage technology to provide for a sustainable multimodal transportation system for the community. First, I'll talk a little about the public outreach. We held a number of public meetings and stakeholder workshops. Additionally, we conducted an online survey, and that's actually where we got the greatest volume of feedback. Over 1,000 people responded to this survey. So I'll share just a bit of results from that survey. As you may expect, the current mode of travel for most residents responding to the survey is the personal vehicle, 92%. However, what may be a little surprising is that as people move toward the future, expecting what their transportation pattern might be in 20 years, you can see in that third question, a lot more people will be taking transit or commuting via bicycle. At least that's the thought in answering the survey. So you see the transit mode goes from 2% today to possibly 18% 20 years from now. And so based on that growth, that second question there, what mode of travel should the city invest in, it makes sense that residents think that we need to beef up the transit system in the city in addition to investing in the other modes. So now I'll walk through some of the specific recommendations for each mode. We had a roadway element, bicycle and pedestrian element, and a transit element. On the roadway side, we first did some traffic modeling to find out where our constraints would be in the year 2040. This model does take into account several programmed improvements in the southeastern part of the city. That's why you're not seeing any constraints shown in that part of the city for the most part. But you can see a lot of issues popping up in the northern part of the city. So to address this, we have developed recommendations for capacity improvements to several of those arterial streets in the northern part of the city, in addition to those already programmed projects in the southeastern part of the city. On the bicycle pedestrian element, we heard a lot of feedback from residents stating that they are interested in bicycling in Chandler. However, they're a little concerned about using the on-street bicycle lanes, just with the high speed of traffic being right next to that. So what the desire really is to have more of an off-street system or a protected series of bike lanes to separate bicyclists from vehicles. So these are our recommendations. The purple lines shown on this map represent our off-street recommendations. These will be separated from vehicular travel. And then there are brown lines, a little harder to see, but on Chandler Boulevard, Fry Road, and Hunt Highway, which represent protected bike lanes. So it could be like a curb or some other barrier separating bicyclists from vehicles. And the transit element, historically, the city has planned for fixed route bus and done a good job developing that plan over the years. However, this time around, we wanted to transition to providing a more nimble type of transportation service, something that could be a little more efficient, hopefully a little more convenient, and attract more riders to the system. So this map shows some of the recommendations for our transit element. The different shapes represented by the letters A through G represent a flexible transit service. This would be a smaller vehicle, like a large van, where residents could utilize an app on their smartphone to request a pickup, and the van would not have to follow just a fixed route, but rather could deviate and respond to where the residents are and where they need to go. And then finally, I mentioned that technology was a major component of a part of our vision. So we did want to focus on technology, and our consultant, they're not aware of any other plans that have been adopted throughout the nation that actually place this level of emphasis on technology and a transportation master plan. So we think this is a pretty innovative plan. One of the recommendations that came out of this for technology was mobility hubs. As an example here, this picture shows what it could look like, but this is just a place where different modes of transportation could come together, whether it be Lyft and Uber or that flexible transit I mentioned, meeting up with fixed route bus, potentially in the distant future could be a high capacity transit type of thing. Additionally, shared bikes or scooters could all converge here, and allowing people to transfer from one mode to the next easily, utilizing technology to facilitate the process. So there would be Wi-Fi screens here with real-time arrival information, lockers for Amazon packages, things like that. So in conclusion, with all these recommendations, you can see there is quite a price tag to develop all of these recommendations. However, I want to emphasize that by approving this master plan, we are not approving any of these projects. All of these projects would have to go through the budget CIP process before anything is actually approved. But what's important about this plan and having all of these recommendations in here is the region is currently updating the regional transportation plan, which would be used in preparations for extending the half-cent sales tax for transportation that's countywide. So having these recommendations in place kind of sets a vision for Chandler, establishes a need for Chandler so that we can make sure that Chandler residents get the transportation improvements back for the tax money that they're contributing to this regional sales tax. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Jason, one question I had. I know we heard from at least one resident who had been involved with this and was concerned that saw an arterial close to their house highlighted to be expanded and did not think that it warranted such. So there's no timelines on any of these. These are just a recommendation. Speak to that, please.
Correct, Mayor. Thank you for the question. Yes, all of these recommendations are not set in stone. There's going to be flexibility throughout as we develop our CIP and budget. But yeah, the capacity improvements recommended in the roadway element would still need to go through an analysis study to make sure that at that time that we for sure need those improvements. And additionally, there would be public outreach at that time as we develop that project. And additionally, through the CIP project development phase, there would be public outreach opportunities. But correct, none of the projects within this plan are imminent.
Council, additional questions or comments?
Mayor.
Councilmember Orlando.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Jason, for this briefing. I think one of the unique things about this plan, not only the innovation and the technology, but also it's almost 50-50 split with capital improvement and operating funds, which I think the previous legislation was vast majority of that was on capital infrastructure. So I think that's something, if you want to dive into a little bit more, I think it's interesting to note that this will be covering some of those costs that sometimes we don't have the revenue for.
Yeah, great point through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando. You're right, that about half the money in here, almost for the roadway, for example, is for maintenance. So yeah, as our infrastructure ages, there's certainly going to be a lot of need for reconstructing streets and maintaining that pavement for those new surfaces that we construct. So that's definitely a critical element, and there's a cost to that, so we tried to factor that in.
So, Mayor, as we continue our negotiations with MAG and all the other stuff, I'm assuming we'll see other, particularly East Valley cities, come in with similar plans of demanding more operating cost than obviously first time in infrastructure cost.
Correct, yeah, that's the expectation, is that we won't be alone in this need for maintenance dollars.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Seeing no more questions, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Next item, brought up, item number 11 by Councilmember Orlando, construction contract.
Bicycles,
proceed.
bicycle lanes.
Bicycles, go for it.
Yeah, that dovetailed nicely. No, Mayor, I know the West Valley for a while has been looking for additional bicycle lanes, and some of those are the older streets, and I'm glad we're looking at now putting in some bicycle lanes in that particular area and making them more robust, but I'll let you give a quick briefing.
Through the mayor, Councilmember Orlando, thank you for your interest in the McClintock-Kyrene Road bike lane improvements. This particular project is a culmination of, I'll say, 8 to 10 years worth of conversation that has been taking place between past and current council members with Chandler and Tempe. This project is key to bicycle travel in the west side of town, because what this will do is it will link the Tempe bike lanes that end at the southern border of Tempe, and it will extend them into Chandler. So along McClintock, it will take bike lanes from the 202 all the way up to about a half mile north of Ray, where the Tempe boundary is, the southern boundary of Tempe. And then along Kyrene, it will take the new bike lanes from Chandler Boulevard all the way up to about Orchid Lane, which is about a quarter mile to the north of Ray Road, which is also the boundary. So this work will be done in a very efficient manner. The work will be done by narrowing the inside median. So we'll gain that extra footage of lane width by narrowing the median. So it shouldn't be too disruptive to traffic. The work should begin in March, and we should be able to finish it up just about the first part of this year. So we'll be finishing it up around Thanksgiving time, hopefully before the moratorium, the travel moratorium. So that's the plan, and we're very excited to get the work done and get bike lanes connected on into Tempe.
These won't have any barriers yet, will they?
These will not have barriers. These will be the standard bike lane, yes, right, with delineation, with painting,
The
with
normal,
stripes.
yeah, delineation. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
And it's also my understanding that bulk of this money, though, is coming from grants. Is that correct?
Yes, the city match is about 17%. So there's a large funding coming from federal.
Thank you.
Well, as a cyclist, I'm excited to further our offerings for Chandler to go out and beyond, and for Tempe and others to come into our city on cycling. So good project. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Our next item is item number 24, called in by Councilmember Stewart, purchase of Cisco SmartNet. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to get a quick briefing on that project and where that's going to go.
Excuse me. Through the mayor, Councilmember Stewart. On this particular one, this is really a extension of the maintenance and support for this particular piece of infrastructure. This infrastructure actually integrates directly into our platforms for voice and data. And so this is really for the support and, the maintenance and support for that particular product.
I think I called in 24 rather than 12, so it was my mistake. So he's addressing the Cisco.
Oh.
We can go back to 12 after these three. So, any questions?
No, you called in 24?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, you called in 24.
I called in 23. 24 is, okay, I was looking at it in order. So I called in 23, 24, 12, and you were giving me a briefing right then on the Cisco SmartNet, right?
That is correct.
And so tell me, sorry, I was looking at my notes when you were saying that. Go ahead.
So again, this is actually for the maintenance and support for the mayor, this is for the maintenance and support for that infrastructure. It's Cisco platform. And this enables us to ensure that we've got the proper maintenance, the support, any kind of necessary fixes in case there are issues and whatnot that occurs. Also, equipment replacement is included in this
Great.
piece. And this is particularly infrastructure that integrates into our voice and the voice and the, switched over my notes, and data components.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Why don't you stay up, because I think you're coming with another. So, Councilmember Stewart, I had 24, 5, and 6. That's not what you meant to call in, or is there?
23,
Okay.
12.
On your note, I have 12, 24, 25, and 26.
Yeah.
12. Okay, so are we going to do 12?
But he's up here now, so we'll continue with these.
All right, great. So I had a different.
So,
Go ahead.
Councilmember, what's the next one you would like? We might have different.
I think we have different things. Not what you have, but what I got when I called it in. So.
Okay, so what are the items that you would like further clarification or?
I'd like further clarification on 12. I'd like further clarification on 23, which was 23 and 24 on my sheet that I got in the mail. And then where is the, on 26.
Okay. All right. Are you also?
So I think,
Because
to the mayor again, this
the chief
actually
called me
addresses
about-
the 25 and the
Okay.
24 were the two that were my items. So I think I talked to 25. So I believe
All
that
right.
would conclude that.
So apparently 25 is not in question by Councilmember Stewart. So let's go back to 12, and then it'll give staff a chance to put some thoughts together if they're here for 23. So thank you. Sorry for the confusion. Item number 12.
Good evening. So this is joining a contract for the replacement of general park playground equipment. It includes 3 existing neighborhood park playground components, Shawnee Park Playground. This is updating the playground structures in that playground. It is a total replacement of Pecos Ranch Park's playground. Also, Hoops Park Playground is an update to the playground equipment there. It also includes SB Park, the spray pad, a resurface of the spray pad, as well as replacing the controller and valves of the spray pad. And then there's also $50,000 in there for just various park playground elements that need replacing. That happens kind of throughout the year, whether it be a slide, maybe patching, some fall surface, things like that would be included in this contract.
Thank you. We've had a number of emails recently and things like that as it relates to our parks, especially regarding Foley. And I just want to make sure this project, they were all in the capital improvement plan for these parks as it relates to neighborhood parks. So we'd approve these.
Yes, as staff, we have a list of parks that need improvements, and this is just following making improvements that are most needed within our playgrounds and throughout all of our park system.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andy. And item number 23, final plat. This has come to us before, but that's the one you wanted, Asher Point?
I wanted to get on 23, and what I had on my sheet was 23 and 24, but yeah, I just wanted to get a quick rundown on what that is again.
Okay.
I remember, yeah.
Derek, please. Derek, when did we approve this the first time?
I'm sorry, what was that, Mayor?
When did this come to us?
You know, item 23?
Correct.
Okay. This actually came as a rezoning and then a PDP sometime back. I don't have the exact dates. But this is actually final plat in 2 phases. Subdivision plat, it establishes lot lines, right-of-way. It's 310 single-family homes on that plat. So are there any other questions we can answer?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good.
And Item number 26, Councilmember Stewart, is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. That was a significant increase in the budget for that. From, it looks like a spending increase of 305,000 from originally was, I believe, 150. If we can get a quick briefing on what that is, I think it's a.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Councilmember Stewart, to answer your question specifically, this request is to increase the existing spending limit we have with our uniform vendor, SCAGs, so we can purchase ballistic body armor for our officers. Our current contract with SCAGs, which was approved by council in June, was for $150,000, which would cover our annual cost for uniforms and some ancillary equipment. This request is to purchase over 300 vests. So we would need to increase the spending authority for that contract. So in June, though, council also approved a decision package to purchase the additional vests using general fund money, using federal grant money, and using fees that we get through court fees that are allocated specifically to an account to purchase protective equipment. So this specific request is to increase the existing spending limit with SCAGs by $305,000. So this year we can purchase those additional vests, which are expiring throughout the year.
Thank you.
Council, these are all the ones that I'm aware of that have been called in. Is there any other questions that you might have? All right. Seeing none, we will be back here on Thursday to vote on these as well as a few other things. So this concludes our study session. Thank you. Council, El, did you want to tell your, that's Thursday, the public hearing. Yeah. I thought you wanted to tell your joke after all.
Never mind.
If you wish to hear his joke, come up to him afterwards. This concludes our meeting.